Welcome back everyone to another video. Team, in this video I'm going to take a look at restorative practices in teaching. What it is, why is it important, and some of the success I've had with me in my classroom practices adopting it over the last few years. So not saying students are getting away with unruly or difficult behaviour, just a different way to approach it. Kind of deal with the behaviour and teaching students to, rebuild relationships or understand what went wrong instead of trying to stay out of trouble all the time. So, number one, why restorative practices matter. First one, conflict's going to happen in the classroom, okay? You're going to have situations as a teacher that's going to frustrate you, drive you insane, or however you want to categorize it. But what I found, especially in my early career, is it was me as a teacher in these situations, it was more punishment approach. You talk over me when I'm talking, move you in the classroom. You continue to be disruptive in the classroom, buddy room withdrawal, contacting parents or whatever it happened to be. Those situations and those things was definitely more of a punishment approach to students. But what I was finding up until the last couple of years, it wasn't really, undoing the harm. It was sort of, not that, how much you want to read into it, how much harm was done from telling students to not be quiet, to be quiet, but it's more just, students are going, as I said, they're learning to stay out of trouble, so you want to make sure that they're getting a way to repair the harm, so they understand what's going on. The key here is they need to learn how to make things right and not just stay out of trouble. So, those conversations after class, these days are more about that. So students misbehaving. I had a situation the other day with one of my lower school classes where I was in the middle of instruction, the student was mucking around and, hadn't collected some work from the transition a few minutes ago. And it's frustrating as you're as a teacher, feel like you're investing your life into these students to get them an education, get them to possibly better opportunities in life down the track, and then all they're doing is sort of sitting there and expecting everything to be done for them. So there was was sharp with the student, professional but sharp. Student bit back. Now, a few years ago, it would have been straight out, send that student out, and then deal with it after class. But I thought, you know what, I'm not going to do that. I'm a changed man now. So it's just, look, that's not good. We don't appreciate you better than that. You need to be respectful when I'm speaking. And it just fizzled away. I think, students were looking around thinking that, the usual situation here is the students can just get sent out of class. But I think just keeping the students accountable and voicing what they did wrong and sort of my expectations helped smooth that situation over quicker. So, what restorative practice looks like. It's not a script, it's a mindset. Bear with me here. So, your restorative questions. So the situations happens in class or it's ongoing. The best way to get to the root of the problem and get the students to take accountability for their behaviour and learn how to make amends. Ask these type of questions. What happened? What were you thinking at the time? Who's been affected? And what can we do to make it right? That's a big one, the last one. I think especially in my role as in leadership these days, when I'm dealing with behaviour problems across my department, it's more about, okay, what can we do to get this in the right direction? What can we do to make this right? And get the student to give a few ideas. Now, depending where you are and depending your relationship with the student and whatnot, they might not put anything forward. But I mean, it's not just to give them a few options, but it's not just telling them what to say either, because that takes away from the power of the restorative part. You want them to be actively taking part. And if there's a broken relationship with another teacher or you as the teacher, every best relationship in life has compromise, so there needs to be accountability on the student's part and on the teacher's part as well. So we have those questions for you, and what happened, why are we talking, why are we doing this, why do you think it's important that you come 20 minutes late to a lesson every time? Is there something going on? Is there something you know? It's okay, you're not letting students get away with the behaviour, but you're not just telling them what to do either. They need to take some accountability. They need to figure out ways to get better. For me, what this looks like at a high school style, is usually the chat, the mini restorative chat, as it can be called. So waiting for, if the behaviour in class from a student happens early in the lesson, now depending, I mean, don't let students just run the market and go crazy, but if you can keep the student in class and it's reasonable, it's not always going to be the punishment. And then there might be times where you're just like, no, that's not acceptable, and follow through with your behaviour processes. But keeping students and knowing how to make amends, how to do better behaviour, is going to be important as well. So anytime I have a restorative chat with a student, I follow this 3-step model. So acknowledge, this is what I noticed happened today in class, what's going on, tell me your thoughts. If they don't want to say anything, then I'll start with what my thoughts were. This was frustrating, you were late to class, everyone else is here within relative time, if not on time, they're doing the right thing. Me as a teacher, I've only got a certain amount of minutes per day and per lesson. I need to make sure, I'm using the best that is possible to help you with your education, because that's important to, open up opportunities later in life. I think when students start seeing that side of it, they're like, okay, he's not just telling me what to do because he thinks he's in a authoritative position as a teacher. Explore, step number 2. So what's going on for you? So why were you late? Why were you talking in class? Why were you constantly disrupted? Why were you off task? Is the work too hard? Is the work too easy? Whatever the reasons would be. And the big one, repair. So what are we going to do to move forward? What are some things I can do better as a teacher? Here's some things that you can do better as a student. Okay, and what's some things you think you can do better as a student? Yeah, I mean, that can be difficult, and be a bit of a hit to your pride as a teacher, because you feel like, you're above those situations. You've been to university or college or whatever and been teaching for 20 years, 30 years, 10 years. You've been at the experience, and there's a bit of truth to that, but there's also, you're trying to get the best out of each other, student and teacher. So what's the compromise you can get to get each other to a better situation? So when restorative practice feels hard, and let's be real, it's not every student's going to be able to repair stuff. Some kids aren't there yet. And some conflicts just might go on too much to fix a go. So what to do in this situation? Stay open, okay, and be patient. It's not going to be a fix straight away, even when they aren't. I mean, role modelling that behaviour can be tough, but I mean, it's a vital thing, especially with young people these days, to see those strong role models that still care and still being patient. Delay, don't avoid the situation. You don't need to deal with it right then, right there, but let the student know they're not getting away with the behaviour. Okay, it might be just take a mental note. Okay, doing the plan to ignore now, but when the bell goes or down the path or whatever, we're going to have to address this. Okay, it keeps the student accountable, keeps yourself accountable. And the final one, if you need to, get a third-party member in there. So a mediator, a year leader, a counsellor, student services, whatever your school needs to use, your head of department. Have a third person there. Myself as a leader, I'm obviously normally the third person, and it just helps to sort of break that tension that can be in the room at times between teacher and student. So, I mean, obviously as a teacher, you're within your right to do that. Okay, and the final part, building a restorative culture. So, how to build it. Use restorative language daily, not just during conflict. Model ownership of your own mistakes. That's been big for me the last 5 or so years. Okay, I make mistakes, and I apologise if I say, students do it out loud to the class to show that, no, I made the mistake there, that was wrong. Okay, mistakes are human and we move on. And celebrate the students when they repair it on their own. That's the big thing, because that's going to be the empowering action to it all. Okay, so my call to action is on my wrap up. Restorative practice won't fix every conflict, but it's bigger, trust, respect, and emotional growth. Your classroom doesn't need to be perfect, it just needs to be human. So, if you can like and subscribe, team, appreciate it. Helps me getting these content out. Any comments you have, any ideas you've got on restorative practices you've used in the past in your classroom, wherever it happens to be, drop down in the comments below. Like always, thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.